So Nathan, we're going to pick back up with you. The question I have for you is, how did you begin the journey of breaking the post-colonial paradigm? But before you answer, I want to give Chris a chance to share something and let that inform your response.
I'm on a journey right now that I think a lot of people are on in our community. I started it. I found out that I had high blood pressure and diabetes. And that led me to embarking on a journey of changing my lifestyle. A lot of what you two have talked about relates to me. The fact that I needed to be more disciplined in my eating. You know, when I was back in Atlanta at Morehouse, I started with the book that How to Eat to Live, and it really impacted me to become a vegetarian. Came back to California, life hit, challenges, all kind of stuff, and then decided to come up with reasons why I wanted to change the way I eat, okay, and justify my changes. And so as a result of that over the years and not being consistent with having more of a plant-based diet, here I am. But I've been learning some things. And what I've learned, for example, is there are some foods that I used to eat that I can't eat anymore. For example, I've learned for me, because I'm monitoring my blood pressure, checking my glucose and everything, and I'm collecting data, and I'm finding that if I eat certain foods, it takes my blood pressure up. Basic food. So right now, I'm at a point right now to where I can't even eat carbs. I can't eat starches. I can't eat meat. I can't eat pastas. If I eat any of that, for me, it takes my blood pressure up. And if I don't eat it, then it's where it's supposed to be. And so, and I've been checking it. All right, well, let me see. Is it really true? So I'll try something again. Yeah, it's true. Here's the data. So this is a journey I've been on, and I've been learning from the data that I've been collecting. So I just thought that might feed into the question you had again.
The effects of processed foods on the body, the effects of the right amount of water, the right amount of sleep, because that's another thing that you've noticed too, is when you rest, then
exercise, walking 30 minutes a day.
All of the things that Nolan just mentioned. So we're going to jump to Nathan, and then Nolan, we're going to come to you because I'm sure you have a lot of thoughts. So we're going to come to you. But Nathan, how did you begin your journey to where you are now?
I can just say my brother primarily. I'm always got to say my brother's been a very strong influence. But I think also for me, health issues, I'm dealing with some health issues, but I also noticed, I would just say this, I think it was really clear for me is whenever I visited any Central or South American countries, Latin countries, or when I visited Africa, and I realized the food difference. And I realized the foods that I would usually eat would be plant-based foods, but the food was prepared in a way that it was all natural and it wasn't processed. And the food was actually for you to actually, going back to eating to live, the food was prepared for you to be healthy and to be strong.
Yes.
And one of the things that I realized, and I'll give the example of Panama, example one, I was in Panama for 2 weeks. And literally, and of course, there's the humidity that's there as well. That's kind of plays a role into it. But the natural being in the natural heat on the equator, you're constantly sweating, but you're constantly drinking water, and you drink your natural juices. So when I would get like a fruit juice, I would get like a watermelon juice or something, or a mango juice drink, and it's all natural. And the sugar content in those different fruit is not like in America. For some reason, we have our stuff is sweet, but a watermelon is not as sweet as it is there. A mango is not as sweet, over in the motherland or in Central American countries as it is here. And the other thing I noticed that walking and eating natural foods, I literally dropped about 25 pounds in 2 weeks, just natural, not even thinking about it. And then the level energies that I had when I came back was just off the charts. So I give the second example in Ghana. I remember getting my food prepared, and it wasn't like, it didn't take them like 15 minutes to prepare. It took a while to prepare the food. They really had to take time to do it.
Preparation.
And I noticed that when I was eating black eyed peas, jollof rice, plantains,
Yeah.
and different greens. And my body just felt like, oh my God, this is so good, right? Right? And would you like to have a pineapple drink? Okay. It wasn't sweet.
Right.
And I didn't get heartburn.
Yeah.
I
Mm.
didn't feel extra full. I can go and walk. And then I realized when I came back, I would go to the gym. I would get on the elliptical machine. You know how when you got to motivate yourself to get on an elliptical machine here from the foods after you eat? I got on elliptical. I was going 2 hours straight nonstop. I was like, hold on,
Right.
hold on, hold on.
Yeah.
And I started to look. I'm like, okay, hold on. I just got back from the motherland, and my energy is like here.
Yeah.
I just got back from Panama. My energy is here. I
Yeah.
just got back from Cuba. My energy is here. And I'm just like, oh, it's the food.
It's the food.
It is literally the food.
Yeah.
But then you got to also tie the fact that here's the other part I want to say. When you're around your own people, you just feel so good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's being in the community, being around people who identify like you, just
Mhm.
culturally in different ways. I think that adds to the mental aspect.
Yeah.
Also, the way people vibrate and the way they move, it reminds you of what you're used to, and you feel a sense of calm. You're not stressed. You're not feeling like you're the other. You're not feeling like you're the imposter. You're not feeling like, even though you may be from America, but you just feel like, man, this is natural. This is my natural habitat. And
Yeah.
everything about this just feels right. And I think that's a big part of it. And it changes the psyche. So if the psyche is changing, the way you see in the world is changing, what you're eating is changing, and all of that is connected to how your body is feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I like what you're saying, Nathan, because I made some changes. Saw my weight drop 30 pounds. My numbers, medical numbers, decreased dramatically, feeling better. I'm working from home now, and that has definitely led to a change in my attitude. And I think about a lot of things that Black people deal with, being in the US, being in this society where there are a lot of things systemically that impact our emotional state, sense of well-being. And I think you might be going to Nolan with this one, but as we make, what kind of changes do we need to make sure that we can move and be intentional and protect ourselves from the things that affect us internally in terms of turning to certain foods for comfort, not necessarily for health. Go ahead.
Right. What do we need to do? What kind of circumstances do we need to have or create to ensure that we are eating to live, not to cope with circumstances? Yeah. I noticed something because I also follow your Instagram page, the Black Vegans Today Instagram page, and I learned something. We talked about watermelon. And, I love watermelon. First of all, we eat it, we eat melons, but I didn't know about the seeds. I grew up, and this is getting at breaking destructive ways of thinking. I grew up thinking you shouldn't swallow the seeds because they would be detrimental to your body. Then I saw a post that said that there's nutrients in the seeds. And I never thought to do the research to find out for myself. That was just a paradigm, a program I was running on. And it wasn't what disrupted it was that post. So let's go. Now I want to come to you, Nolan. Now, Tracy McCorder talks often about how Dick Gregory influenced her decision to go to move to a plant-based lifestyle. So, of course, I want you to say whatever you're thinking about what you've heard so far, but I also want you to address this too. What influenced your decision to make that shift?
Which part do you want me to answer first? What I just
Let's
heard?
start with what you've been thinking, and then you can go right into talking about the shift.
Okay. All right, great. So I think the answer to that first part, the first question, Chris, you just demonstrated it. you have to do research on yourself.
Yeah.
You said you were counting your numbers, checking your blood pressure. A lot of times we make decisions in a vacuum. We don't really know. We hear everybody is doing it. There's a buzzword out there. So everybody, our bodies are not monolithic. We have to make sure that we are eating foods that are customized to our own specific individual bodies. And the only way to do that is to actually do the research. Like you said, you taking your blood test. I did a food sensitivities test, blood test, to find you got to know what's going on with you. Otherwise, it's like you're trying to put a triangle in a circular space, right? So you want to find something that's specific to your body. So I think the first step is really doing your homework, and because we're quick to respond emotionally to all the hype, right? Because you got a charismatic speaker out there. Somebody said, you got to do this. This is going to change your body. No, it's going to change your body. I don't know if it's going to change my body.
Right.
I have to look.
That's right.
I have to look and make sure it's going to change my body, right? And so I might be allergic to what you're recommending, right? So you have to really do your homework, and I think that's very important. So the first step is to do our homework and do our research to make sure that it's right for our bodies. And it might be right for your body. Remember I talked about detoxing? It might be right for your body after you detox. But if you're not in that space where your body has purged all of those toxins, your body might respond in a different way, right? So that first step is really is doing your homework. I think that's really, really important. And then
it takes courage to do that, Dr. Jones, because I can remember, my wife was always telling me, things I needed to do, but I didn't want to do it because I didn't want to find out, because it might have meant that I needed to make a change.
Yes.
But then something happened where I had no choice. I had to find out. And I made that change, but go ahead.
Yeah, and that's the main reason most people make the changes. Somebody is told, they go to the doctor and they find out that there's some major chronic disease that they have to address. And what do the doctors say? First, change your diet.
Change your diet.
That's the first thing they say, right? Change your diet. And I was like, the doctors know. They know. Why they pretending like they don't know? They know. They say, change your diet. And what do they tell you? It's like, lay off the salt, lay off the sugar, lay off the processed foods, right?
Like
don't have that dessert, the dessert that you want. They know. And so it's crazy to me. It's like we already know. It's like going back. The resources are there. The diamonds are in the backyard. We already know. We just have to listen.
Yeah.
The other piece is we gotta turn off that television, because there are millions of dollars, or probably billions of dollars now, poured into getting us to go buy stuff that we don't really want.
Right.
Obey your thirst.
Yeah, there you go. So we gotta protect your mind, because you're gonna be fighting the whole time. And so being in a community of folks, being in a family, encouraging everybody to take on that lifestyle change together, that gives you that kind of support you need to fight against all of those outside influences that inevitably are going to show up in the media, your phone. I mean, you think you get an app to make your life easier, and before you can use the app, you got to listen to that advertisement. They just went from the television to the app, to the computer, to your social media. So you really got to be hyper vigilant and aware and protect your mind. And I'm gonna pause there because there's so many other things. I talk about a lot of it in the book, different ways that you can actually address. But how I got on the path of the veganism or plant-based eating, I had some mentors when I was a freshman in college. I was an undergraduate, and this is just coincidental. There's no correlation whatsoever. It just happened to be that time, the folks that I most respected for their leadership and their wisdom were all vegetarian.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, there must be something to this, well, let me check out this vegetarian. And then I had a crush on this one woman who was an older student who also was vegetarian, brilliant. And I was like, wow, okay, I need to check this out. Everybody I know and admire are at that time vegetarian. And I was a freshman. Freshman in college, you're still kind of developing your value system, trying to figure out what you're going to do, where you're going to go, who you're going to be, right? And so I decided to explore vegetarianism and understand at that time, veganism wasn't that, we weren't even calling it veganism. At that time. We were calling it vegetarianism. And a vegan was just an extreme vegetarian, somebody who didn't not only didn't eat meat, but they weren't doing the dairy and they weren't messing with the eggs and all the other stuff, right? And so I explored that, and then I decided to do my research. And the research didn't come immediately. It was really after I finished college. I was probably considered an unhealthy vegan at that time, because I would drive into Burger King and say, "Give me a big a Whopper, but don't put the meat on it."
Don't put the meat on
it. They're like, "What?
Give me a grilled cheese."
Well, can't you just take the meat off for yourself? I said, I don't want to see it on there. Yeah, I just, and so
been there, man, been there.
That's
in and out.
That's exactly. That's how it was back in the day. But then, later on, when I started to do my research and learn about the impact on the environment, the carbon emissions from the factory farms, and then the impact on the animals, the unnecessary slaughtering of animals. I mean, we have a lot of our cultures, indigenous cultures, that get permission from the animals, and it's not this mass production, and it's not waste, and it's not using all for profit, right? Yeah. And there are pros and cons and arguments on either side of that. We won't go down that lane. But for me, part of the decision to sustain my vegan plant-based lifestyle.
I'm so glad you said that.
I had to educate myself, because I've gone off, right? I had to educate myself and give myself reasons, and give myself the background knowledge necessary to oh, okay, well, this is who I am now. I'm not going back, because I have 3 compelling reasons, and and all those reasons support me in maintaining the vegan lifestyle, because you can go off easily. When I was in Ghana, I couldn't, I was traveling with the group, and I couldn't be a full vegan at that time, because I was at the mercy of where this travel company would take us to eat. And I had to pick and choose, or go, and I did go hungry a couple of times. And then I had to I gotta eat, man. So I can't starve. So I was vegetarian for that time that I was in Ghana, because other places. We found a few vegan restaurants, but they were out of the way. And I didn't have Instacart. I couldn't have anything delivered to me. And I didn't have a kitchen. We were in hotels. So, I had to make do. And that's what you do. You have to make do, right? And so I adjusted my eating, but educating myself on that. And I talk about that in the book. One of the 4 reasons why Black people go vegan, it's taste and health, but there's also the component that Nathan mentioned, and that's environmental racism. When folks saw the documentary What the Health, and they saw how some of these factory farms were dumping the waste of animals into the water and into the air, and it was in the water of Black and brown communities. How we're like, no, I'm done. I'm not eating meat anymore, right? So we had this environmental, cultural imperative to not mess with the meat. So for me, it started off just really being influenced by mentors, and then eventually I started to do some research and educate myself, and got some reasons to anchor my lifestyle into veganism and plant-based living.
Yeah, wow. I'm so glad you were honest about the journey, because it's a process, because some people, if you've grown up eating a meat eater, when you first make the shift, you find yourself doing things like that. You go to restaurants and you ask them to just remove the meat, but you're still eating the cheese and and the egg and the bread, the processed bread. So you go through that process, and then we find ourselves shifting to eating the meat substitutes. And when people say, you know, it's expensive to be vegetarian, generally they'll say vegetarian, what they're really referring to is it's expensive to substitute your meat you're accustomed to eating with the meat substitutes. Those things are expensive. And as Chris mentioned, while he was going through his transition, he was told no meat substitutes. That's processed food. It has a lot of sodium. It has a lot of additives, and you can't have that either. So, you know, people have to understand that and remember that as we're eating, we have to get in the habit of asking more questions. I think a lot of us were raised, those of us who are about the same age, and our parents, we traditionally have been raised not to ask questions. And that actually came up in the previous community conversation, where one of our guests mentioned she grew up asking questions. This was in relation to church, and she was told, you just don't ask, you don't question God. And so we're kind of raised with that belief that you just do it. We don't really know why we do it. We just do it. So once we become researchers, we research our own bodies, we research what we're eating. Our daughter is a label reader now, she's checking how much sodium she's eating. Now she understands why she can only eat so much of something. So,
and it takes discipline.
It does.
Telling, like you said at the very beginning, because what in the book How to Eat to Live, by Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I remember, I read this book a long time ago, but I remember it saying, you don't have to have a whole variety of foods that you eat.
That's right.
And if you really start eating to live, you just got a nice little section of foods that you eat, and not this big variety. The world is constantly telling you, no, don't eat to live, eat for satisfaction.
Right.
Eat for comfort.
Right.
Eat when you get some news you don't like, and you got to figure out how to deal with it. You know, but it is never telling you to eat to live.
Yeah.
And when I learned to start eating to live, my food variety shrank.
What Nolan says, and Nolan says is really important. We see that in movies. What the recurring theme in movies is when people face some kind of difficulty, mainstream movies or television shows, where do they go? To the bar. So the way they have coping mechanisms for how to deal with challenges or difficult situations. And most of a lot of Black people and a lot of our own folk, they've been programmed to do the same thing. So it goes back to what you were saying. We have to turn the television off, and we have to begin to re-educate ourselves about how we want to live our lives. How do we want to eat? How are we going to go about eating to live? And then Nolan, you mentioned going away. And when you went abroad, Nathan, well, they both have, but Nathan actually gave an example, and being around good energy. A large part of this is mental health. So we also have to think critically and courageously start to examine who we're around.
Absolutely.
And how that fits into the lifestyle we choose to live. So go, and I'm gonna segue right there into this question. What advice, Nathan, would you offer to someone who's, okay, I grew up eating this way, I grew up thinking this way, but I'm learning new stuff now. I'm in college or I'm reading books, whatever the vehicles are. And now I see that this is not working for me. What advice would you give to someone who wants to break from that, but might be afraid of rejection from family members, from friends? What would you tell them?
And before you go into that, I see you posted a lot in the chat. There's a quote from your post referencing a book called Killing the Black Body, Race, Reproduction, and the Meaning of Liberty by Dorothy Roberts. And you posted, it says go ahead.
From slave masters' economic stake in bonded women's fertility to government programs that coerce thousands of poor Black women into being sterilized as late as the 1970s. These abuses pointed to the degradation of Black motherhood and the exclusion of Black women's reproductive needs in mainstream feminist and civil rights agendas. I want to go further. Now, some 2 decades later, Killing the Black Body has not only exerted profound influence, but also remains as crucial as ever, a rallying cry for education, which is what Nathan has been saying, awareness and action on extending reproductive justice to all women. What advice would you give to someone who wants to break from destructive generational patterns, but might be afraid of rejection?
I think the first thing we have, and there's a book titled this, Decolonizing Your Mind, right? We have to decolonize our minds. And decolonization means that you have to go dark. And what I mean by that is you have to just start to detox yourself of all the negative things that you've learned. Wow. And in the process, seek out communities that have the same interests as you have. Find elders and find people who have like minds, or find communities online, wherever you're going to go, and with the hope that you can get some coaching, some training, some guidance, some nurturing, some encouragement around shifting your lifestyle and being okay knowing that what you were taught wasn't necessarily always was the right way, right? And this goes back to the whole slave diet, right? Post-traumatic slave diet, right? I think it's important that we need to examine the history of how we got to where we are. I think that's the first part. And that goes back to understand that education is a very powerful tool for change, right? So we have to educate ourselves. We have to examine the past, examine history. And then as we're on that journey, we hope that we can, like I said, find those right individuals who can lead us to the right path, so we can figure out how to develop better strategies to make our lives better around health and eating. And I think also, and tell yourself that it's okay to think differently, and that it's okay to be on the island by yourself sometimes, because sometimes being on the island by yourself is going to save your life. Yeah. There's the peer pressure. There's a peer pressure of knowing what we know, but there's also the peer pressure of knowing what we don't know. And we want to, be able to, again, I would say ask the Creator to give us a vibration, to find the right people to come into our lives to help put us on the journey that we need to get on. And then once we're on that path, we can begin to give it to other people. Like I said, it's not a force. It shouldn't be a forced situation. But sometimes you got to force yourself. You got to just go dark. You got to go 5 degrees and just drop what you're doing, right? Because sometimes that's the best way to do it. It's like going through a detox program, right? You're going to sweat at night. You're going to go through that process, right? Because I know when I first tried it, I probably told Nolan, so I admit to this. I remember when Nolan started telling me about the whole vegan thing, and I tried it. Now he probably is laughing about this. And I tried it for a month the first time. I was like, oh Lord, I don't know if I can do this, right? Just eat, vegetables. And then one day I broke down and I just went and I had to get a steak. And I was with my cousin Elgin. He was like, what should he say? Man, bro, we got to whip some food up. We got to get some steak. We got to get some because my body's going like, ugh.
You see? Did we say it earlier? That extremist.
got a steak, I got some chicken. I was like, oh, and I was feeling real good. I was like, oh yeah. But then I realized I was feeling very lethargic and heavy and weighted down. But I also realized it's like a drug. It's
Yeah.
it's really a drug.
Yeah.
And but I think we need support systems, and I think that's the main thing.
Mhm.
We have to have people that say that it's okay to be different. It's okay to think outside the box.
Like
It's
that.
okay to focus on your health because your health is your wealth. It's okay to know that what you put in your body is going to determine how long you probably live too.
Right.
Many instances, right?
That's right.
And so, in that mental health component that you mentioned, Chris, is that this mental health thing, and NECA that you mentioned is like, if your mental health is not tight, you have a lot of issues because what's happening on the inside mentally reflects what's happening on the outside as well. And if we're not secure in our minds, or we're not strong in our minds, and we don't have that support, it's a very difficult fight in the long run. And I think, like, again, communities, you have to have communities of support to encourage you to stay on your journey, because everybody's journey is not the same. But I mean, like I said, if you want to live long and you want to be healthy, like I tell people, I know I'm 52. People say, well, I don't feel like it. You know, sometimes I have some aches and kinks, but I mean, when I was telling Nolan, in my neighborhood, when I walk my 3 miles and I come back, I feel good.
Yes.
You know, my whole day feels good because, like, you know, I got that energy out. I'm listening to my gospels. I'm listening to my sermons while I'm walking. And I'm like, okay, by the time I get back, I've walked 3 miles. So I heard Tony Evans, you know, Tony Evans is preaching and teaching. I'm like, okay, go. By the time I look up, I didn't walk 3 miles and I got back home, and I'm like, and I'm feeling good. And then you can just, your body is elastic, right? You can run and do things, and
Right.
and then you say, okay, you know, let me get some water. Let me eat light. Let me just feel how it feels to be light. You know, and when you feel light, you feel good.
Yeah.
Some
And then
people don't know how that feels.
and we're not even talking about, you know, and I know the intimacy part of it too is changes. I don't know if people talk about that component, but I know once you, and I told them I did a 37-day fast, and I went through this process, and man, my life was just, I was just feeling, I was like just light. I was like, woo, I'm flying. And so if you feel like that every day,
yeah,
because it's the food. It goes back to the food, and it also goes about how you feel about yourself too. Because if you feel good on the inside, you're gonna be feeling good on the outside. But I think we got to get to the mindset we shouldn't worry about what people think.
That's right.
I don't care. You know, what you think about me is not my business or my problem. What I think about me is my business. You know, but what you think about me is not my business, is not your business or my problem. So, and I think that's what we have to start thinking. Just find like-minded people, find communities, find support groups, and find healthy eating groups, and figure out how to cook. Find people who can cook things for you. Even if you have to start ordering your food, but trust that you can find a good chef, a good vegan chef, or a plant-based diet chef, whatever, to make the food taste good so you can eat it if that's what you're looking for. I mean, but there are people out there.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that goes back to researching, really taking the time to do your due diligence to find what it is that's going to help you. And like Chris, like you said, you started finding certain things out. Like me, I just realized if I can go, literally, I can go 2 days without eating. I go 2 days without eating, you know, like usually when I'm in here working all day, I would get up, and like one of the things that I do, I was telling Nolan, I just squeeze like key lime juice, put it in water, or I'll make my ginger tea in the morning and put the key lime in there, and I'll drink that throughout the day, and I'm fine. And if I want to pull on something, I'm okay. And I'm like, I'm feeling light because I didn't put a lot of heavy stuff in my body, because for the most part, I know I'm sitting. But so at least if I'm getting up, you know, when my clock says stand up and go walk for about 5 or 10 minutes, drink my water and do what I need to do, I'm fine. And I might go through a day, people are like, are you hungry? Nah, I've been drinking water all day. I'm fine. I'm fluffy. And I think we, like I said, we have to be in tune with our own bodies. Like nobody's bodies designs are the same. We might have similarities being from the same bloodlines, but no, any two bodies are the same. And so one of the things I always realize, okay, I know, like you, Chris, I know what I can eat. I know what irritants
Mhm.
that causing me to feel a certain way when I eat certain things. I'm like, oh, that I'm feeling sluggish and I'm feeling like I can't breathe because that something in that food that I shouldn't have eaten.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
so and it's like that, and you just got to figure out your own body chemistry, and I think it's going to be important that we do that, figuring out your own body chemistry and knowing what works for you, because like I said, there's not one program that fits all.